So with the Belgian Grand Prix done with, we immediately head to Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix. This race is special since this race officially concludes the first half of the season before we head into the summer break. The first half has been chaotically boring, with some races being absolute heaters I will tell my children about, or they just been fine, I guess. However, I don't think we need to worry about this race being bad or even mid, since this track has it, man. I have no clue what this track has, but it has it. Since for some odd reason, every time we come here, something big or crazy has to happen. Everyone gets lobotomized here, since in 2020, you had Max crashing on lap -1, 2021 where Bottas single-handedly took out both Red Bull cars and handed Lewis the lead in the championship back, 2022 had Ferrari put in the drivers on hards despite them knowing they were square tires, 2023 had Lewis locking in randomly and getting pulled from Max, 2024 had McLaren on fire and Max committing hate crimes again, and now I'm getting a bit nervous for this weekend, since we are guaranteed to have something strange happen here, and I'm just praying that it benefits Ferrari because Lord knows I'm on my last string. And it's really weird that this track is crazy, since you look at the layout and you really wouldn't think so. This track is called Monaco without the walls for a good reason. You cannot overtake here at all, man. The only spots are like turn 1 and turn 2, but like that's just it, man. The turns are narrow and consecutive, and it just leads to dirty air galore. That's how Piastri was able to pull away last year, and how he also couldn't catch up to Lando once they messed up the pits. So you would think that this track would be unpopular with the F1 masses, but strangely enough, people love this place, and I can't really say I blame them. We of course had last year's race, which was something alright, 2022 where Max spun for fun and won, and 2019 where Lewis and Max fought brilliantly for the win. We could be in for a good one, everyone. So let's see the upgrades coming here, the drama from the last week, the ones to watch, and my predictions for the weekend. So subscribe if you're new if you're hungry, and let's get into the preview now.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
As always, you beautiful creatures, we gotta talk about upgrades first, and this weekend, along with the last, were the most important ones in the year. After the summer break, most, if not all teams, will stop all major developments on their car to focus totally on 2026 and its new regulations. So if we're gonna see the grid change up, then this week is the final week where that is possible. Obviously, a team can still develop this year and take a huge advantage, but there's the added risk that that will be valuable time lost for next year's regs, which I don't think will be totally worth it. But who knows? After all, I'm a guy in his room, so I may be a total idiot. Definitely an idiot. Anyways, let's talk upgrades now, and the first team up is Alpine again. This is it for Alpine. It's now or never for them, since they absolutely cannot afford to finish last in the standings. Imagine that, man. This team sure weren't really good, but they always got like 4th, 5th, and 6th in the constructors, taking home good points almost every weekend. But now, these guys are just so sad. It's so pitiful, man. I want better for Gasly, so let's hope that these last few upgrades for Alpine are meaningful. Otherwise, let's hope he doesn't go more bald. Next up is Aston Martin, who I'm actually feeling pretty good about. Aston at the beginning of the season were pretty horrible to say the least, but since Imola, they have come back fully and have been getting points again, and if they truly want to stay as great midfield challengers with hopes of a title, this end bit of the season needs to be good, because how are they going to convince anyone they're worth it if they just constantly stagnate? Improvement needs to be seen very soon, and given the impact new hirings have made this year, I think they could live up to that promise, and dare I say, maybe they could get a podium in another chaotic race. It better be with Fernando, that's all I'm saying. Next up is Williams, who have already stopped all major developments on their car, but still need some minor stuff just so they don't totally fall behind everyone. Some floor stuff is coming, I believe, and even though they are minor, I hope they could still give something valuable to them, because they need it desperately, man, since I still want to see them competitive and scoring good points and not having to fight with Stroll for P13. Albon has been doing good in that. However, Sainz clearly is still having some struggles, so let's see if these parts could fix it for him. Next up is Sauber, who have been massively on the up, so let's hope this form can continue to the end of the season. I've already said many times how bad this team are going to be for next year, so this year's conclusion needs to be good so they can savor the feeling of being on top and not fighting with dragonflies for P22. Obviously, this team have turned around their season for the better, and I really don't think they will return to the lows of the early season. However, I do see their form dropping a bit by the season's end. Nothing major, but just enough to where they had to start really digging deep for any success. best, but let's hope their last few parts can be good. Now for the top dogs, and I begin with Red Bull. Now, quite obviously, the season is over for them since no shot they win the title from where they're at, but they could still get second. These last upgrades have got to work to perfection or near enough. Otherwise, these guys are cooked for the long run. Obviously, there's the chance these guys cook hard for 2026 and beyond, but man, I don't buy it since no way their car will be good or the engine. I don't doubt them. It's just that I kind of am since their incompetency has grown so much. I'm saying 2028 is when they'll be serious again, so apologies to all my Red Bull fans. Next up is Mercedes, who needs to end on a high note. 2026 is expecting Mercedes to be very fast, and if this year ends on a high note, then great, the team can flex about how good they are, but if they don't, then that's pressure they absolutely do not need, especially if McLaren are that good as well. But you know, maybe it's not the end of the world if they fall off this year, since that just means more wind tunnel time for them, and I'm sure Mercedes can live without the few extra millions they lose from second or third. Finally, I have Ferrari. Ferrari, as we know, have been working on a few upgrades with it debuting last week, and refinements are being made here after some positives from Belgium. It really worries me, by the way, that this team has very little rumors about them next year, since surely that's not a good sign. Ferrari absolutely have to get these new regs right, since so much is at stake here. If Ferrari aren't good next year, then that means Charles can leave, and Lewis will be yet another red disappointment. Who knows where this will leave the team? I need everyone to lock the hell in, so please pray for us. I do not care about your allegiance. Now for the drama of the week, and I have the news with Max and his goddamn contract again. So in case you've been living under a rock, Max has had heavy rumors to go to Mercedes since Lewis left the team. We all know how much of a fan Toto is for Max, and there's nothing he wants more in this world than for him to get his hands on him. And recently, in the past month or so, these rumors have hit their peaks, and so many people were convinced that Max was really going to leave Red Bull for Mercedes. There were reports saying how Max's entourage met with Mercedes, and Max himself was being kind of vague about it. However, it seems that all of this has died down now. It's now being reported that Max's exit clause, which allows him to leave before 2028, has gone out of service, which means there is no way he switches teams for 2026 without some black magic at play. What's that? They have black magic? Yeah, now there are new reports saying how there's another exit clause that if Max is fourth or lower in the standings after the Hungarian Grand Prix, then Max can leave the team again and maybe go to Mercedes for 2026. Man, I just do not care anymore. I've been a fan of this sport long enough. I know Max won't go to Mercedes next year. Maybe in the future, I don't know, but my money's still on Max retiring after Red Bull. I just don't see a reason why Max would continue in F1 after Red Bull after his constant statements saying how he wishes to race in other categories after F1 and how he does plan to retire early. So yeah, man, let's all just calm down, please. We don't want him to die. I know speculation is fun and all, but it won't happen. Trust me, man. Trust me. Watch the jinx. Next up is about last week and where we're at with these regulations. Yeah, I've seen the light. Burn these regs to the ground. Yeah, the idea is cool and it did work in 2022 for like 8 races before Mercedes ruined everything, but man, it's been hell racing these cars in the rain since like 2023. These cars produce so much spray that I am convinced if I were to drop a teaspoon of water onto the track, the cars will make that into a 50-foot wall of spray. That race in Belgium showed why these cars are so horrible. I still think we should just stick with it and try to further the ideas, but whatever. I just hope and pray that next year's cars are good and not such a nuisance. However, with the active arrows and all the computer stuff, something tells me things are going to be bad. All I want are for small, nimble cars to be the norm that don't produce an abundance of dirty air. It's what we all want, and dare I say, the last resort for us should just be to add BOP to F1, since this sort of dominance is so unnatural, man. Who cares about what some loser elitist says about how it's cheating and race fixing? I want to see fun happen on the track. Am I such a bad guy? If I wanted to see 2 hours of cars just driving by with no action, I would just go to the freeway and look at the cars there. Sorry, I'm rambling on. I'm tired of boring races, especially in the wet, so please don't fail us 2026. Finally, I have the discussions around these tracks like Spa, Imola, or Monza. Now, it is pretty undeniable that these tracks and more I failed to mention are historic and really iconic, not to mention fun on the F1 game, but guys, these tracks are showing their age. As it stands, Spa, Imola, and Monza are just absolutely horrible for F1 and produce some of the worst races in modern times. Of course, with the exception of last year, since the grid was so tight, there is almost nothing to be gained from watching these races. They are boring, wasted time, and maybe they should leave. or maybe not. Because like I said, the problem is the fact that these grids are so uncompetitive. If every team is like a tenth away from each other, then obviously there won't be any action to enjoy. If every year was like 2021 or 2024, this problem wouldn't exist or certainly be as big as it is. That's why I'm saying, hear me out. BOP in F1. Yeah, sure, you could see it as race fixing, but look at WEC. Every race is at least guaranteed to show us good action at tracks like Spa or Monza. Obviously, there are issues with BOP as we see this year with Ferrari, but if perfected, I think this should be the standard for most motorsport series, because at the end of the day, we want to have fun with these races, so why not experiment and have fun? And like I said, if you just want to see cars drive like this with no entertainment, then just go to the highway and look at the cars there. Now for the ones to watch, and I have Red Bull here. Of course, they have a new team principal and all the rumors around Max, so this is kind of the default option, but still, there is a lot of uncertainties around the team, and you just can't help yourself when it comes to being interested in this team currently. Whether you're watching them this week to pray for their downfall or pray they do good again, I don't care, but you better be watching them this week. Alrighty people, time for what you skipped here for predictions for the Hungarian weekend. As always, it must be stated that we'll predict 3 things: the top 5 in the quali, the top 5 in the race, and a random prediction from any session. It should also be noted that these predictions are based on nothing but pure vibes, so bear with me. No sprints this weekend and for a while now, so let us begin with the main event with quali, and I predict that the top 5 on Saturday, starting with 5th, will be George Russell, and 4th will be Lando Norris, and 3rd will be Charles Leclerc, and 2nd will be Oscar Piastri, and for pole position I have Lewis Hamilton by 0.02 of a second. Now for the race predictions, and starting with 5th I have Max Verstappen, and 4th I have Lando Norris, and 3rd I have Charles Leclerc, and 2nd I have Lewis Hamilton, and the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix is Oscar Piastri, who runs away with the victory, unfortunately. Time for my random prediction, and I think in the race, there'll be 2 safety cars due to a lap 1 crash and a car engine DNFing in a weird spot. Also, make sure to join the Discord to make your predictions for the weekend and have a chance to appear in the winners and losers. And that was my weekend preview for the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm expecting chaos to happen here, like in every year, and I am praying again that Ferrari are not caught in the crosshairs. It would be pretty funny though if he finally got a normal Hungarian Grand Prix again, since after everything that has happened this year and prior years, really, this one will feature nothing? But I don't think that will happen, so buckle up everybody, we got a weekend on our hands. Anyways, I'm going to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support, and make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe since it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what your predictions are, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.